Welcome back to the Real Estate Excellence Podcast with your host, Tracy Hayes. Best of the best. My guest today has positioned herself in the most competitive area of Northeast Florida, Ponte Vedra Beach. You want to sell luxury homes at a high price point? This is where you start in the greater Jacksonville area. Likely to find more agents here than golf balls. Her team was considered the third best of large real estate teams by the Jacksonville Business Journal. In 2021, 109 transactions for over $92 million.
Correct.
Okay. In volume, you do the math, that's a lot of homes over the $1 million mark. Let's welcome Lisa Barton of the Lisa Barton team of Keller Williams Atlantic Partners to the show.
Thank you, Tracy. It's nice to be here.
Thank you. I'm so glad you came down. And again, another opportunity, as we were talking pre-show, we have never met before. We talked a little bit on the phone. You had some questions about the show and how it will progress and so forth, so you felt comfortable. But we were really interested in you. When I saw your numbers and I see your leadership, Ponte Vedra, when I was started in retail mortgage lending, I should say. I'm skipping around here a little bit. When I started in retail mortgage lending with the company I was prior to Jed here, they asked me where I wanted to be. And actually, Jacksonville, Ponte Vedra is the area I didn't want to be because everybody who wants to do loans and sell homes would love just to camp out in your Nocatee, Ponte Vedra Beach, right up into the Jacks Beach area, because that's where all the high dollar loans are. And so I avoided that and went to St. Augustine and started making my way on the street, so to speak, when I came out of the call center. So I am very interested on how you have been successful in that such a competitive, very small area, really. You think about it, square footage wise, and how your team has really, grabbed a corner of that market.
Okay.
So that's so. As we start off every show, tell us a little about where you're from.
So I am a Florida girl. I'm from Gainesville. My father was a professor at the University of Florida for over 50 years.
Oh, wow.
So I lived in Gainesville, went to college at the University of Florida. I love Florida. I love living here. Mm-hmm. I went to graduate school at George Mason University and got my degree in school psychology. And then I worked for 4 years in the Pennsylvania Public School District as a school psychologist.
Oh, okay.
Which is a job I loved.
Was that something you is working on the school level? Because I often look at myself as I should have been a psychology major because I love studying people and wonder why they do some of the things they do. But was working at the school level something that you envisioned, or was that kind of just the first job that kind of came to you?
Well, my degree was specific to school psychology, so working in the public school system was a perfect fit. Mm-hmm. And I was responsible for kindergarten through 12th grade, so I got to work with a variety of age groups and got to follow my kids from one school to the next, from one grade to the next, and it's a very hands-on type of psychology. Yeah. So I did assessments, looked for learning disabilities, and worked with teachers and worked with parents, and it was an awesome experience.
I imagine as our teachers today, there's a lot of ups and downs.
There are.
And especially with you dealing with some of those that some of we don't see, such as we don't use the word mainstream. You're a lot of times dealing with people who are not in the mainstream. Mm-hmm. And it can be inspirational at times to see what they do, but also heart-wrenching at others.
It can be. My oldest son is he's a first-year high school math teacher at White High School. And he's experiencing some of those challenges, but also some of those satisfactions. He loves his job. Right. And he is, it's been really challenging, but it's been great for him.
That brings up an interesting thing, and we're going to see where we relate this to working with real estate agents, too, because we were talking a little bit about pre-show, about some of the attitudes of some of the new agents. His inspiration probably comes from the class that comes in, and they just want to give it to me, give me more. And then the heart-wrenching part is the others who are, you're like begging to come in and sit at their desk, and I let me just teach you these basic skills, and they're not even there mentally.
Yes, and especially Ed White is an underserved school, so it's a population of students who don't have a lot, and are doing the best with what they can, so it can be very heart-wrenching. There's no doubt to reach out to our school teachers and personnel overall on that and how. So you're up in Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. You're in the school system.
how does that develop and get you to
So-
Berkshire Hathaway? Because that's who you started with in 2009, am I correct?
So actually, I started with a very small brokerage firm in 2007. Was only there for about a year, and then moved to Berkshire Hathaway.
So what took you from Pennsylvania to
So
Florida?
I wanted to move back to Florida. So moved back to Florida. I was a stay-at-home mom for 4 years, and then decided I wanted to go back to work. And I kind of tumbled into real estate. It wasn't something that was on my radar, and I think that happens to a lot of real estate agents. They're not sure what they want to do. But they're people who want to work. And so I started helping a friend of mine who was a general contractor, and he was building a house.
Right.
And so I helped him a little bit with the design, and we talked marketing. And so I went and got my real estate license thinking that I would work with him. But he was a very small custom home builder, and I realized I would likely have one deal.
A year.
So I decided that I wanted to get into real estate full time.
Right.
Berkshire Hathaway was a great start for me. They had good training programs, and it was a very supportive environment.
So was there one individual at this time that kind of maybe at Berkshire Hathaway that took you in, or was it a slow growth?
A little of both. My managing broker was Jill Strite, who actually is not in real estate anymore, but she was awesome, and she saw the potential in me and helped me think about real estate, think about it as a business, not just something that I did when my children were at school.
Right.
And so we kind of created a plan, and I worked that plan, and then got so busy that I started to lose my life. I remember going on vacation with my family and my youngest son saying, "I'm not sure why you're here because you're so anxious and so nervous about what's happening at home."
Right.
And that was a powerful and kind of painful realization.
Yes.
Yeah. So then I decided to form a team, and my two team members are still with me, and we're going on 11 years, which is unheard of in real estate.
That's awesome.
They were both buyers. So Marsha Keller was a buyer from Ohio. She had been in Taiwan, came back and was in Ohio with her family. I helped her buy a house. She never saw the house. She moved here, and the house we had already
That's
closed.
happening today quite a bit too.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's a huge leap of faith to make a decision that big. Her husband and I worked together, but we closed the house before Marsha came down.
I don't think just say not everybody can do that as an agent, because you do, and it could be very quickly. Just say how you enter yourself, or maybe today how your social media presents you, that they immediately build some sort of trust in you. For the most part. Now, granted, there are some people just say, "Hey, I want a house in Ponte Vedra, and I want one on the beach." And hey, boom, there's one on the beach. Okay, well, it's the only one. I have to buy it. Don't really have to sell that too much. But there's also, I want one in Ponte Vedra, but what school is my kid's going to go to? Is this the right fit? And you got to build that trust with them.
And you can't build trust quickly. I mean, trust doesn't happen in 3 seconds. It takes a while to build trust, and there has to be give and take, and people really have to believe that you are hearing them and you are listening to them and paying attention to what they need. And so I think that's one of the things that our team has done really well, is that we're a very high touch team. We really listen to people. We understand what they're looking for. And that has enabled us to sell a number of houses to people who have not even been to Florida. In fact, Tonya O'Quinn in 2020 sold 2 new construction homes to people.
Sight unseen. They just saw the models online.
They saw the models online. Tonya went to the design center with her iPad and her phone and said, "Here's the cabinet, here's the countertop." But because she had put the time in to really listen to and understand
and
those
took her
people.
design recommendations, probably in a lot of cases. Think about, you talk about spending time in building trust. And I went to a recent seminar in listening to the podcast of the group that I follow, and not saying that he's saying anything special that other trainers and leadership are telling us to do, but that customer service part of it in our business is now you're face to face. A lot of times I don't ever see my customers. They go to closings, but here working with a large builder too. But even my non-builder stuff, it's tough to go around. And even talking to the real high producing loan officers, they don't have time to go to 30 closings a month. It's just not the time. So that communication part of it and putting things into your system. In your case, I'm leading to the question of before you brought on a team that would cover you while you were away, but obviously you were getting so busy that you only had so much time to spend with other customers. There had to come a little hurt in your business. You probably couldn't measure it so much because you were so busy, but some of your customers weren't getting the same satisfaction as, say, a few years earlier when you were just doing the right amount of loans for your time, or purchases, sales, whatever, for your time. So you come to a point where you're losing that customer service edge. And one of the biggest things I think that loan officers and realtors miss out on is that relationship, that trust, because that person, that borrower for us, buyer for you, maybe it's seller, is the key to other deals. It's the best marketing you could ever put out on the street for you.
Without a doubt. And the time and the energy has to come from somewhere. So if you're giving all that time and attention to your customers, then what happens to your family and what happens to your life? And that was kind of
all the reasons why you're working so hard.
That's kind of where I felt like I was tilted in the wrong direction, is that I wasn't giving my family the time and attention they needed. Right. And so having a team allowed me to be able to do that. Right. And the other thing that having a team has allowed me to do that I've really enjoyed is that we work very collaboratively together. Right. So when we have a new listing, we all talk about the listing and we all know the listing. So basically we have 4 minds working on a property, and we all have our customer base and our sphere. And if we have a customer who we feel like we're not meeting their needs the best way, then we talk about it. And maybe another person steps in, or maybe somebody has other ideas. But it's a really collaborative environment, and that makes it fun to go to work every day.
Well, as we were talking, pre-show, I mean, going to a mastermind where you're sitting around people who think like you have a drive and have a level and want everybody in the room to rise. I can imagine, you put a team together and you guys kind of can't wait to come in and have that sales meeting or whatever and talk about the new listings and, you know what, I got a client that might be interested in that home that that you're going to, on that listing appointment or whatever. And that energy, right there. And I think as a buyer or seller, if I'm a seller and I'm hiring because you label yourself as a team, I'm hoping that I'm not hiring one agent. I'm hiring 4 or 5 agents that are going to go out and they all have circles of influence, and I'm going to sell this pretty quickly and get the what I want for it.
Absolutely, and especially since we're talking high end, we attend all our showings, whether we have a buyer or not. If another agent is showing one of our listings, we are there, and we are there to answer questions. We're there to make sure the house looks as great as it can. I've made a lot of beds and put a lot of dishes in the dishwasher. We have availability, and I can't be every place at once.
Because your high-end client
expects that.
Yes, they want to make sure their stuff is being watched, and obviously they have the trust in you. That's why they hired you. How does when you said that, it made me immediately think of how does the buyer's agent coming in, because I imagine some of them don't like you're there.
I'm confused as to why.
Yes, that's my question.
Because buyers are going to have questions, and the buyer's agent has likely never seen the house, and there's only so much information MLS can provide. Right. So we try not to be all up in their business. We let them show the house and look at the house, but we're there to answer questions, and there's always questions, whether it's questions about the house or the neighborhood or the school district. And so we're there as a partner, not as a competitor.
And I would also think, when you start getting up into the higher price points, these houses are custom made. There's unique things about them.
Absolutely.
That the previous buyer or original owner may have put in there that someone just reading it off the MLS, has no idea where, they see the picture but don't know what room that's in, right? And they go, oh, that's really cool. I need to show that room. Well, which room is it in? Well, if you show up at the same time the buyers do, you don't flow as quickly. You don't show it as it should be shown. Just like someone might watch a TV show, there's a reason why it's edited and so forth. Mm-hmm. You have already got it edited, and you're going to highlight that house.
And a lot of things in a house that add value, you can't see.
Right.
So you can't see that it's block construction or that they're hurricane impact windows or that those types of things. And that, as a listing agent, I want to tell buyers and their agent some of the things that make the house special that might not.
That just made me think. We have obviously we have a lot of people who are eco-friendly. They want to know that it's got a tankless water heater that does that, and some people, that's a decision maker for them, and makes me thinking. I don't know if you do. Do you have a pre-conversation with the selling agent coming over and just say, hey, what are your family looking for?
Sometimes, if they call, we certainly have that conversation.
Right.
Sometimes.
That way you can present it in that way. Show them those eco-friendly things. It's kind of like the people buying cars. Some of them are all about the engine. Some people never lift the hood. Yeah. I can imagine that. That's interesting. But yeah, that would be my question too: is why they don't want you to do that.
I'm surprised, but I will tell you,
they're still going to get paid the same.
I will tell you it. When I'm working as a buyer's agent, it can be very frustrating to have to work around a listing agent schedule. If you've got 12 houses to show, you've got everything lined up, and then the listing agent has to be there, but they can't be there this day or this time. Yeah. So that, again, is why the team makes it helpful, because we'll have somebody there.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And the bottom line comes down to, again, back to your customer who is the seller here, wants their house shown at the best. It's because why they're asking for the top dollar.
That's right.
And they want the best to present it. You transitioned from Berkshire Hathaway eventually over to Keller Williams.
2 years ago.
2 years ago. What was it that you saw in the change? Because sometimes we need to, whether it's change jobs, in this case, as you change brokerages, to put a new light on things. What was your reasoning there? And obviously, you had your team was a little bit smaller, right? You had some.
We've grown since we moved.
Yeah, so you took a small team and now added more to it over at Berkshire Hathaway. What did you see there in that move? What did that benefit you and your team?
Well, Berkshire was a great environment for us, and I still have a lot of respect for the company. I still have a lot of friends who are Berkshire agents. For my team, the move to Keller Williams was really about growth and expansion. The Keller Williams model is about real estate agents as entrepreneurs. So we had the freedom, both financially and structurally, to grow the team as we saw fit and really to brand it as our own.
Right.
And we are kind of a boutique real estate team. There's only 4 agents.
Right.
We have 4 agents and 4 support staff. And Keller Williams was a good fit for us. And then when we moved, we helped open the Ponte Vedra Beach office for Keller Williams. So that was exciting too, to be able to have a voice in how the actual office was run.
I think, as I'm sure you did when you first got into real estate and started with, the first brokerage before going to Berkshire Hathaway, there's so many different ways you can do this business.
There are.
And you kind of learn as you go. I mean, from the lending side, I started with Quicken Loans in the call center in 2005, and I thought those were the only type of loans you could do. And then when I get out here on the retail, oh, hold on a second, we got portfolio lending over here. We can do this, we can do that. We got all these different things going on that I never was exposed to, because in those walls, that's what they did.
Right.
And as I'm sure your time at Berkshire Hathaway, talking to other top realtor, what are they doing with their teams? What are they? And obviously, you caught on to Keller Williams and dug in and found out that's, a path that you wanted to take. So, you're leading a team, and looking at your team there, it's a very mature looking team, professional looking team.
We're old.
I didn't say that. Okay. But all of you have to stand, because the clients you're targeting, so to speak, are generally more affluent. Some of them may we know people got rich and didn't even have a high school diploma, but there's others that are, executives, they got their wives are educated and so forth. They're on a different level. Under the luxury, not that they put their pants on any way differently, but when you interact with them, it's you have to be swift of mind. Would you agree?
I would agree, and we work with all levels of buyers and sellers.
Right. I don't want to put out there too that everyone. We're not. What I'm interested in, Lisa, is because the luxury thing is a small percentage, and Lisa is going to take care of anyone who comes to her and asks to buy or sell her home. We're not. I mean, the same with me. I don't care. They say, hey, I'm buying $100,000 condos. Okay, they have the same treatment as someone buying the $500,000 home or even the $1 million home. As far as the service, I don't do anything really differently from that end. But what I wanted to try to get out, because that market is so unique, and not every agent focuses on that market. But what I was leading to is, how do you guys stay sharp? In a sense, we were talking a little bit about personal development before the show. Do you guys like to, certain books you guys like to read, podcasts? What do your crew do to kind of stay sharp of mind? And
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So obviously I value education. Everybody on my team has a degree. It's not necessary, but it's important. And then several of us have graduate school degrees, again, because we value education. So I think it's kind of twofold. First of all, at the luxury market, the thing that the person who is a very high net worth person, thing they value most is their time. They, like everybody else, gets 24 hours a day. This is not a group that wants you to waste their time.
Right.
So we are very careful about what we present to them. We don't just, if they say they're looking for an oceanfront house, we don't send them, 50 oceanfront houses. We really cull through and make sure that we've heard what they said, and we're sending them things that are legitimate for them. Then to stay informed is really important, because real estate's changing constantly.
Yes.
So we take a lot of classes from NEFAR. NEFAR offers great classes. We're all GRI certified, so we're all graduates of the Realtor Institute. We've taken the Senior Real Estate Specialist class, the Certified International Property Specialist class. So we've taken those classes to learn how to be a better agent. And then I read a lot. I read Inman every week. I read the Wall Street Journal. I read the New York Times.
'Cause that's what these people are reading.
That's what they're reading, and that's what I need to read. That's what I need to know. I need to understand what big national economists are seeing for the real estate market, not just what's happening today in Marsh Landing. We need to know what's happening across the country, because those people are coming here, so we want to know what their experience is like.
That's interesting, the way, obviously everyone knows the Wall Street Journal, but does the other things, because these people are taking that 10 minutes, an hour before they go to bed, trust me, and they are doing the research. But where are they getting their research from? They are looking at the Wall Street Journal. They are looking at these national publications. They have, trust in them, because some of the circles they circle in are people who are writing those articles.
Exactly.
And so you have, that's a very great nugget right there, because, and also there's, I'm just thinking of the strain a little bit on your team too, mentally, is because you are dealing with a lot of custom homes. You're generally not in the tract building homes where there's 3 or 4 models you can memorize in 15 minutes. Every one of these homes, they want to be aware of what's going on, what's the situation. Hopefully you've gone by and seen it. So when they are having this, pre-buy conversation of what they want, they want to have an intelligent conversation, but like you said, time. They need to ask the right questions to get the right answers. And it's kind of like doing a great, employment interview. You're doing that with that buyer.
Exactly.
Looking for that kind of home.
And we also have a list of vendors. So if we look at a house and needs a new roof, it needs a new kitchen, whatever it needs, we have somebody who can come and give us a quote.
Right.
I don't say, to my buyer, well, you can get somebody to come in and do this.
You're doing it for them. They expect you to do that, and at least give them some idea of what it's gonna. Yeah. Whether you're doing luxury buy or just, I don't know what the average home now in St. Johns County is.
The average
it's not
home in Ponte Vedra
$400,000.
Beach is $874.
Right. So
last year, yeah.
if we look at all of St. Johns County, though, we're obviously majority of the sales are obviously going on because of the lower price point. We're still looking at $350,000 to probably $500,000 somewhere in that area is where the average home sale. You still should be doing that you need to have these vendors in your back pocket. That's a great nugget right there. Have these guys on speed dial, and I'm going to just go to, because you bring up an interesting thing. My wife was looking at a house that we were looking to invest in for my sister to live in, and there was an issue with the foundation, and she sent me the picture, and I quickly sent it over to Austin Gray's home inspection, and Austin was right back. I don't think it was 15 minutes. It was probably 15 minutes because I started doing something else and then looked back at my phone and realized he responded. And by the picture, he gave me a little direction and then gave me a number to a general contractor who would probably give us kind of an idea what that might cost to repair that. But that's what every agent should have that.
Absolutely.
It doesn't matter what you're selling.
And it's a list that the agent needs to generate. I've had people say, well, can you send me your vendor list? It's not going to help them because that vendor won't recognize them. So they're busy. They're not going to return the phone call.
Right.
So I am very careful with my vendors' time.
It's not who you know. It's not what you know. It's who you know.
Absolutely.
That's one of my questions. All right. Yeah. So let's transition a little bit into your team and your ideology, because I think this is, as we're already tipping into it a little bit already, the mindset. You've planted yourself in a hornet's nest of real estate agents. And it's kind of from a lender side of, there's a lot of agents who will sit in some of those bigger offices out there and literally just sit and wait for someone to walk in the door. And because of the price point of the average home out there, they'll just sit there and wait for that person to come in, and they'll jump up, boom, and hopefully they'll have a deal. Where those are kind of your full-time or part-timers, but there's a lot of those out there. As we talked about earlier, a lot of these new agents aren't digging in and listening to the podcast of the successful agents that I interview each week and every week of what they're doing, and the really accelerate quickly, if some of them have. So digging into the ideology, your team, you brought over a couple from Berkshire Hathaway. I have the list of your name of everyone, at least it's on the website.
So everybody from my team at Berkshire Hathaway transitioned with me. It was Marsha, Keller, and Tonya.
Okay, so they were listed with us. So let's just go down, fairly quick, just tell a little bit about some, but how did you meet Tonya and how did you get her on your team?
So Tonya was a buyer, and she was moving from Canada, and I don't believe Tonya had ever actually even been in Florida before. But we couldn't find a house her first trip down, so I found her a rental property. 2 weeks before they were to move, the rental property fell through. The owner decided that they wanted to sell it. So all of a sudden she's moving here and has nowhere to go. So I found her a
unless she wants to buy that home.
Yes, I found her a rental property, and she moved into that. And then when she was ready to buy, she called me back, and I helped her buy a house. Similar story with Marsha. Marsha is the agent who moved from Ohio. She had not been here. I helped her buy a house. When they decided they wanted to get back into work, they called me. And our team grew very organically. Yeah. And they both started with me. Because
this is not, they didn't move down here because of COVID.
No.
This is long before that.
That's 12 years ago.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. This was a while ago that they came down, and then obviously saw how you were doing business and just enjoyed.
They had experienced it.
Yeah.
So I helped them buy a house, and so we had a level of trust built up before they even decided to come work for me.
Right. And then reached out to you, and then obviously you got a mesh, which obviously you have for 11 years with these two ladies. That's awesome. Sean, how'd you get?
So Sean is our newest agent. He is he's been with us for almost 3 years, 2.5 years.
How does he handle it with a woman? I got to ask, because he's the only guy in this all-woman team.
And Sean is a trooper. He is really a trooper, but he manages to put up with us. He really does. And Sean was in new construction before he came to work with us.
Oh, good.
And we actually posted an inside sales agent job, and he recognized the potential and came to work with us as an inside sales agent and did such a marvelous job that we brought him on.
So for someone who may know, or maybe a fairly new agent, An inside sales agent. What's that? What do they do
So basically,
in the real estate world?
that person is the person who follows up on leads. So it's a, dial and smile kind of position. He called leads, old leads, tried to resurrect them, and he really did a great job. And that's a hard job.
No doubt. No doubt. Brandy.
Brandy is our transaction coordinator. Brandy is the person who keeps the other four
Everybody
of us
in line.
sane. Yes. And she manages the timelines and the paperwork and the signatures. And, there's a lot of steps to real estate. I think that's something consumers kind of forget or don't know because they haven't bought a house or sold a house in a long time. But Brandy keeps track of each step to make sure that we do everything is done on time and that everybody is clear with their expectations. And she's wonderful.
Well, as from the lending side, obviously we have a lot of, compliance. The lawyers get involved. But even on that contract, there's certain things that are set for certain days. Yes. And trust me, if you're dealing with a more affluent buyer and something doesn't happen when it's supposed to, somebody's already calling, I'm gonna, whether they're going to back out, who knows? They may have got an actual better offer, so they were trying to find a reason for the buyer to cancel the deal, the seller. So that transaction coordinator, I imagine Brandy communication is her forte.
It is her forte, and it just makes everything go smoother.
Yeah.
If we can call 2 days before the appraisal's due to find out where it is, rather than 20 minutes before the appraisal's due.
Or why hasn't it shown up today? It's due today. Why isn't it here yet?
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. Yeah. There's no doubt. I had one not too long ago. It was a condo, and we're like, hey. Actually, I think I don't know what it was, just something epiphany, because I think it was actually prior to the due date. I said, "Are we on time with the appraisal?" Because they wanted to close so quickly, and you know how long it takes for the appraiser to go out there and get back and then do the report. I'm like, "Hey, we're going to have it next Friday or whatever the day was," and all of a sudden we get an email back. The appraiser kind of let it slip through the cracks. They're going to get out there right away, and ended up turning out we got it a week later than what it should have been. But yeah, those things happen, and to be on top, even of course the volume that we deal with here, we can go into the site and say it says the inspection is set up for X date. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we don't say nothing. We said, well, you already set the date. Well, did that date happen? Are they updating it and saying, oh yeah, the inspection happened today? Which we will get an email saying, hey, your inspection was completed, so we know, okay, we're a couple days away from actually getting the report.
Right.
Yeah. So that's very vital, and especially I would imagine in some of the individuals that you're working with.
And especially the volume of business we're doing. We closed over 100 transactions. Before we had Brandy, I was staying up, and Marsha and Tonya were staying up, in the middle of the night going through, checking all the paperwork, because that was the only time during the day we had to do that. So just to make the transactions run smoothly and create less hysteria is really important.
Yep. 100%. Heather.
So Heather Centrofit is our director of operations. Heather has been working with my team since the beginning. And for a long time, she was on a consulting role. She helps with all the back end stuff. So she manages our website, and she manages our contact management system and our file management system. And she does payroll, and she's really like an office manager. Mm-hmm. She keeps everything together. And, you don't really see what Heather's doing, and because she keeps it all running smoothly, but her role is crucial.
I'm going to circle back to Heather after you go over Savannah, because that's something that I think you're going to agree with. But tell us about Savannah.
So Savannah is new to our team. She's been with us for about 6 months. She is our director of our marketing coordinator. She's our marketing coordinator. Savannah is quite young. She's fresh out of college, and she brings a new set of eyes to everything. I think she thinks we're all dinosaurs, but she is lovely, and she's very creative, and she is a social media queen. She knows what works, what doesn't work, and she's been a really nice addition and really refreshed everything for us.
So, as Daniel, our marketing person here at Jet, is filming this for us, one of the things that I have evolved is people don't understand that, you on as the face of the team, and really actually all your agents, you're out there and there's things that you have to do. There's things that you do, whether it's go over and scout out a home. Maybe you're listing it and Sean goes over. He needs to go over and he wants to look at it so he knows he may have a buyer coming. And these type of buyers, I would imagine your agents probably go out pre-time, make sure the house looks great. Mm-hmm. So when the buyers show up, everything's perfect.
Right.
Nothing shows up unexpected. There's a lot of things we do per se. You don't get paid for it, but actually you are getting paid for it. You should be doing these things. Mm-hmm. But you have to put the people, the Brandys, the Heathers, and the Savannahs into the mix, because I may have a great, or read about, see on YouTube, whatever, about this great marketing potential with YouTube or the podcast or Instagram, all those types of things. But you and I are at 30,000 feet. We need the Savannahs to come in that actually know how to implement the plan.
Absolutely.
And it is so, so important. And I think so many companies miss the ball because they are not looking for people like you and I who are at 30,000 feet and have these ideas, implement. It takes time, marketing. I think one of the words I'm going to ask you here in a few minutes, consistency. Mm-hmm. How many times, loan officers, we talk about doing this all year long. We work really hard, get on the phones, do all that thing. Great. All of a sudden we got a bunch of deals. We're like in those deals. We stop our marketing. We stop doing those things that makes the phone ring. We close those loans and then we're like, okay,
nothing in the
get back on it. And then, the next month you're up and down. Where to be successful as an agent, to be successful as a loan officer, you've got to have that consistency plan going all year long.
Absolutely.
You're mapping it out. I'm sending out Christmas cards. I'm sending out Valentine's Day. I'm sending out Easter cards, whatever you're doing marketing wise, and doing it consistently.
Mm-hmm. That's really important.
Yeah.
And the support staff that we have in place allows us to make things look easy.
Yes.
When you buy or sell a house with us, it feels easy. It's smooth. There's not a lot of unexpected surprises. I don't like surprises, not even on my birthday. I want to know what's coming. Mm-hmm. And so because we have good support staff in place, it looks from the outside, it looks easy. And most consumers don't see all the things rolling, in the background.
Well, because they see themselves as the only thing in your world, mm-hmm. when it's really, you have maybe 10 other people that you're directly working with and buying or selling a home in the next, 2 months or so, you're working on that. And I think the value in being able to make it look easy, you're not running around with the chicken with your head cut off. You actually are, hey, I know I have a call with Mr. Smith at 10 o'clock. Let me go and get his file. Let me get up to date on him or her, and then have that call, have an intelligent conversation. You already know what points you need to get out of the conversation because you took the time. You're not worried about the mailers going out. You're not worried about, did someone get this recorded in the CRM? Or did we send the thank you card? Did we get the closing gift?
We have a process. We have a process for everything. And so that process is running in the background.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And it allowed you, I'm just, visioning your team and how you're describing it. It's a dream team to me, because I wish this is what I want to build personally, is those things are going on in the background. So us with the imagination, there's certain times we need to get on the phone. There's certain times they need to get on the phone. Mm-hmm. Your support staff, you're not handling that. Brandy may need to call the customer for whatever it is, or the vendor, and you're doing what you need to do, which is make next phone call ring, get that next client started in the process, and then you're handing them off. Mm-hmm. And then be there at the end and say, great job. It is a team effort.
It is a team
and
effort.
I think a lot of people lose that in our, on my side and your side of the transaction, that they think they've got to carry that ball from start to finish. And you're not going to go very far if that's what you're trying to do.
And you're going to be really tired when you get there.
Yeah.
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 And at the end of the year, you're going to be, oh my God, I worked hard in January, didn't have any closings. I had a couple closings in February, but nothing in March. And then it's just, you don't want to do that. Puts a lot of stress on your family. When's my next paycheck coming in, or bills getting paid. So you asked me before the show about the podcast. So here's my latest vision. And I say latest because I think somebody think I'm going to give it up. I'm sticking to this one.
Okay.
I have had so many great agents like yourself on sharing. I mean, just super nuggets. A lot of common themes, just different stories about the themes. And so what I'm doing now is make sure we're covering those themes in the podcast, because I really feel at about probably 150 episodes or so, I could actually put a book together.
Okay.
And have these chapters. Because we used the word before, consistency. You got to have a marketing, whatever you're doing, 10x consistently and doing it and doing it. I mean, how many times do you see agents, they send a bunch of postcards out to a neighborhood like they're fishing, and they wait for the fish to bite, but forget to send it out the next quarter and the next quarter and the next quarter and whatever it is. You got to do it consistency.
You do, and people have remarkably short memories.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they may know you and really like you, but when they go to buy a house, they forget. So staying on top of mind all the time, no matter how much marketing we do, still 75 to 80% of our business comes from our sphere. So those are people we know, or people we know who know somebody else, or past customers.
I think about this with we have some brokerages around our area. Some of them depend a lot on, we're talking again pre-show, we were talking about this. Dollars, buy leads, convert so many. They have this equation down, and they want to make it into an assembly line atmosphere. And yeah, I mean, you can do that, but as soon as when the money runs out over here, or someone mismanages it, and you're not, and somebody doesn't put a screw on over here, your whole assembly line completely falls apart.
Potentially, or if the market changes. And that's a grueling business to be in for those agents. To have to make 100 phone calls a day is exhausting. And there's not a lot of success in if the conversion rate is 3 to 4%, which is pretty much the industry average. That means 96 to 97% of your phone calls, somebody's either going to yell at you or hang up.
Right.
And that's personally not how I want to spend my time, or how I want my agents to spend their time.
Would you read as there is a level that at the beginning that they need to be comfortable talking on the phone?
Absolutely. But I'm not sure that that's the only thing I want them doing. I think as a new agent, yes, you need to be comfortable making phone calls. You need to be comfortable making cold calls. But there are other ways to get business.
Yes.
And those would be where I would suggest people spend their time and energy.
I think some of my most of my non-builder business that has come to me in the last 6 months are circles of influence that I have outside the office. Yeah. Now, do they see me consistently doing the podcast? The great thing about social media, those people are your friends. When you put something out, they see me every day. And so my consistency, I started a few years ago doing short videos, and I got deals out of that because the subject I was talking about rang with somebody and they called. But not everybody's ready to do a transaction, as we know. They know you, but it might be 3 or 4 years. But if a year into it you stop doing it because you don't think it works, well, they forget about you. Their friend refers them, or the neighbor's selling the house and they go, oh, well, that looks like a good agent, I'll just use them. The staying top of mind. The great thing about social media is you can do it for free.
You can do it for free. But there's a lot of chatter out there too.
Yeah.
So how do you differentiate yourself from everybody else?
Yes. Do a TikTok dance.
Oh, yeah. Well, Savannah, our marketing coordinator, has said that TikTok is not my forum. Or platform. Platform was the word she used.
Not your platform for Ponte Vedra Beach. That's probably about
goodness, nobody needs to see
unless the teenage daughter is making the recommendation to dad on where to live. But the consistency is so important. But yeah, the circles of influence, that's where I wanted to go with that. The circles of influence. And I don't think enough people sit down enough and realize, what am I doing? What are my kids doing? What am I involved in? Is it the ball team? Am I doing this? Is it a mom's group in my neighborhood? Whatever it is, you need to be subtly reminding them, this is what you do. I mean, if you want to wear a T-shirt and wear it across your chest, that's sometimes that works too. And
it goes back to some of the things we talked about at the beginning. It's trust.
Yes.
how do you get somebody to trust you? They have to know you. And so if they know you, then there's a potential for trust. And then it also goes back to education. People's favorite thing to talk about is real estate.
Yes.
So when you go to a party, when you go to a ball game,
they're coming right up to you and going, hey, what's going on?
So know your numbers, pay attention,
Right.
know what's happening. And every time we go anywhere, somebody asks me about the real estate market, and I love talking about real estate. So I'll be in Publix and have that conversation. But you need to know what's happening. You need to read. You need to pay attention. So you can answer
that again. There's a nugget right there. We talked about some agents prior. What's the difference of some of these new agents getting started and off on a great trajectory, which some of them I have on the show, and some of them I'm going to have on the show in the next couple of weeks. We talk about really young agents that are doing $9-10 million in their first and second year. How many agents would have dreamt of doing that kind of volume? But they get it because they're listening to advice like that.
And they're working hard.
Right.
Real estate is not a sprint.
Yeah.
I think there's
Yes.
a misconception in the media, but also just in our culture, that it's a quick way to make a good living and to set your own schedule. It's not.
Not.
It is not. It is a
It's
marathon.
a self-employment.
Yes.
And
there's no ceiling, but there's also no floor.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of hard work and consistency and knowing your message and sticking with it.
Yeah. Because I think everyone would agree to have your influence and credibility that you have in Ponte Vedra, the years you've been there and the way your team presents itself, and you've set up your team to make sure, we all have boo-boos, we all have blow-ups, in our business. Things go awry for whatever, all sorts of reasons, our fault, the house's fault, buyer's fault, whatever. But you have to have the people in play, the experience, and the maturity to just make it look easy. But you are sweating it a little, in your office, but having the right staff and the right reliability, the vendors on call to make it look good, because someone's there. People are out there to help you.
Yeah.
And then in this business, there are a lot of people out there, and I hope somebody calls you after this or emails you and says, hey, Lisa, I'd really like to sit down and have coffee with you. I want to learn a bit more about you, because I'm sure you have no problem helping younger agents.
No,
who
not at all.
have questions.
I actually
What
really
did you
enjoy
do
that.
when those type of questions? Yeah.
I enjoy that. And that's another thing I really like about Keller Williams, is that it's very collaborative. And so my team and I are teaching a class next month, and I get calls from younger agents, or even agents who aren't younger but who have kind of hit a bump in the road and
Yes.
they're not sure how to handle it. And I'm happy to talk things through.
I think as myself, any agent, John Maxwell talks about it. He talks about the lid. You'll only get so far doing what you're doing. You have to be continuing to educate, evolve, stay on top of things, because our markets are changing. I mean, our interest rates have literally doubled in the last year.
It's crazy.
Okay, you
yeah.
think about that. And then now our home values, for some reason, currently are still trending up, but I have a feeling they're going to level off here at some point, because people are going to be looking, going, instead of paying 3%, I'm now going to be paying 5% or more. What's that do to my payment? Affordability, that whole thing is going to come into factor. So you might have to change gears. Maybe we keep doing the same thing. Who knows? But you have to be prepared.
We are, and that's been really interesting. In the last 2 years, I feel like in real estate, we've seen 10 years of change. And we've had to pivot and change the way we do things, like monthly. So again, paying attention to what's happening in the market. But it is really, the way real estate is conducted has changed pretty dramatically.
Yes.
And so we want to be on the front of that wave, not on the back.
I think this is just an evaluation that I've had recently, having interacted with a lot of foreign buyers, but buyers basically who weren't born here. They now live here. Their families are here. And they seem to be so much more in touch of the circle of our life, the ups and downs of real estate and how our capitalism works. And some of these people didn't even come from capitalism. Okay. So it's just interesting. And they are much more relaxed than the person who was born here, who has actually lived it and seen our markets do what they do, but then start to panic because the interest rates are going up, and it's like, the sky was falling. Well, you're still paying sub 5% at the moment. What were you doing when it was 2.5%? And that sort of thing. But what comes around goes around. You can refi your home if it goes up, it goes down, but you shouldn't be buying a home that maxes you out anyway. You have to have some flexibility, whether that payment goes up a couple $100 or goes down a couple $100. You shouldn't be pressed into a situation. I need to refi because I need a couple $100 a month, or I can't make the payment. Well, you need to move out of the neighborhood. That's everything.
And I think sometimes people forget that real estate's a product. So yes, it's an investment, but it's also a product. Mm-hmm. So you're living in it, you're enjoying it, you're raising your family there. Right. So you can't look at it as a stock.
Yes.
Because it's a product, it's something you're using. And even if when you sell your house, you sell in a down market and you don't make money, you've still not paid rent. So you've still seen value in that.
Yeah. I'm sure you get the question because you were talking about going to a party. People, what's the first thing to do? What's the home values, right? Home values. They want to know, are you selling your home? or do you need to take cash out of your home because you want to go buy some investment properties? Because unless you're doing that, it doesn't matter. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah. It really doesn't matter. So the interesting, some of the interesting underlying themes that I'm getting from everybody, and we've talked about these just naturally in our conversation. Obviously, you starting your career off in the education field, and that is so. And where can you find the education? And you said it. Go down to NEFAR, the St. John's Board. There's classes going on all the time. Some of the younger agents that I've talked to that came along quickly, they had a lot of, it's like, okay, what do you do when you just had this 9-to-5 job? Now you're a real estate agent. What do you do? They were getting on the phones and having coffee meetings with experienced people, whether it was in lending or other real estate agents or whatever, and learning something. There is no doubt we can go to a 3-day seminar, and maybe in that entire thing we got about 15 to 30 minutes of that entire 3 days where we actually got something that was extremely valuable. But that's the time you have to put in to find those nuggets. The gold's not laying on the ground. You have to dig.
It is not laying on the ground, and it's not. There's no low-hanging fruit either.
Yes.
So yes. You have to put the time and the energy into it.
But you can make it low-hanging fruit if you are educating yourself with your ladder, and you build and build and build on that ladder. We talked about consistency and whatever you're doing. Can you think of something, let's see, what you in 2007, right? Roughly is where you started. So about, we're going 14, 15 years now.
Yeah.
Something that you would look at that you do today consistently that you would say, man, I wish I started that 3 years before.
And this is something I need to do more of, but I think reaching out to my sphere just with a quick phone call. And my sphere are people, they're people I know, they're people I like. I always enjoy talking to them.
Right.
So staying in touch with those people and finding out what's happening in their lives. Those phone calls, they're not sales calls. I'm not calling to say, hey, do you or someone want to buy real estate?
Right.
I want to find out how that person's doing and find out what's happening in their life. And those calls matter. And then reaching out to other venues of things that you're passionate about. I am on the North Florida Land Trust, as I'm a board member for them. Land preservation is something that I am really passionate about, that I really care about, that I'm really interested in. So that's a natural venue to meet new people. It's not, I'm not doing it because
or to keep you in the know.
Exactly.
What's going on?
Keeps me in the know, gets me in front of a new group of people. So my advice to newer agents is find something that you care about, you really care about, and get involved, whether it's volunteering or just learning about it or, going to an event. But there's so many great charitable places, charitable institutes here that we can become involved in. They need our help. And so I think that's a good way to expand yourself as a person.
You bring up a good point, and I saw this just this morning. One of another podcast that I listened to. She's in the branding and so forth, and I know someone here locally that has used her. I believe she's out of Michigan or something, and she did a little Instagram post. And when you go and talk, and you say you're making these phone calls, if you're not genuinely interested in those people, don't make the phone call.
No. And if you don't like them,
Yeah.
don't make the phone call.
Yeah, I mean, you got to be genuinely interested in them, and just to touch base that you really, and people know whether you care or not. They'll read through it. If not the first time, the second or third time, they're realizing, you don't really care what I'm doing, that type of thing. But if you does genuinely be interested in those people you're doing, which brings up my next subject, which is relationships. That's a common theme. I mean, if you think about, like you said, I think we all, and I think everyone would put what you just said, to reach out and continue to nurture your relationships, because obviously we get our lives, there's only so much time in the day. We can only talk to so many different people. We got to do our business and earn our living. But, to continue to nurture those relationships because you actually do care. And, however you do it, whether it's a phone call, it could be just a simple text message occasionally, or a combination of both text messages, just touching people. Facebook puts a lot out there for us and makes it easy, because they'll post, oh, it's my child's birthday. Well, good reason to call. Good reason to send them a card. Hey, congratulations on your son. It's, so he's great. He hit me, playing baseball, whatever. Those types of things. It kind of doesn't make it a cold call anymore, because now you actually saw them doing something, and or they went to a restaurant. Hey, I saw you went to that restaurant. What? Tell me about it. Was it any good? I've been thinking about going there.
All those are natural conversations. They're things you do with friends.
Yes.
And most of our customers end up being our friends.
Yes.
So
that is another common theme that I'm finding in a lot of the successful agents, is the post-close relationships, going to dinner, inviting over each other's house or something, for cookout or whatever. The last thing, we didn't get into too much detail. We talked about a pre-show. I think you do it with your team. Surrounding yourself with successful people.
Absolutely. You can learn something from anybody. So surrounding yourself with successful people and being available to people who could use some assistance. I think that's really important.
Because even though you may be, here in your success and they're down here, like you said, was it Savannah is your youngest one, your newest person, right? Yes. Savannah, yeah. You probably have learned some things from Savannah.
Absolutely.
Because that's a whole nother generation of market. What things are going on? What's trending? TikTok is not your thing. not for this area. And maybe more in central St. Johns County might be a TikTok client, but in Ponte Vedra, TikTok is not knowing those things and having those people who are savvy that, so you can learn from someone who may not have reached your success yet. But also, I just like the way you were just describing your sales meetings, and the way you guys enjoy coming in and collaborating on different ideas. That right there is powerful. But you did mention Keller Williams support and going to their events. I imagine you do, because they do a lot of national
They just had family reunion last month, actually the beginning of March, so almost a month ago.
Yeah.
And we hadn't had conventions for 2 years, so it was wonderful to be back in the same space as agents from all over the country and actually all over the world. We met several international agents, and like you said, masterminding, hearing what they're doing. It was also really interesting to talk to agents from our feeder markets. So we talked to a lot of agents from New York, New Jersey, Chicago, Atlanta, places where people are moving from. And wanting to know, what's the experience like there? What is this person who was a seller coming from, and what are their expectations? And that was
building the relationship with that agent as a referral agent, because if they're doing their business correctly, hopefully your clients, if they're moving somewhere else, that you've put yourself out there enough that they're calling you and going, who should I use? I'm moving to Gainesville. Who should I use?
Right.
Yeah.
And those connections are powerful.
Yeah,
they really are.
Huge. And so where a lot of this stuff you don't put a direct dollar to. It's a long-term play. Like you said, it's not a sprint. It is a marathon. You may sprint at different times during that thing, because as I always tell people in this business, it's feast or famine. If there's a lot of low-hanging fruit, you need to go grab it right now, because there may be, where interest rates literally in the last couple of months have nearly doubled. There's people going out of business. The refi shops are going out of business. They know the business is not good. Now they got to try to transfer over to purchase, and it's like, oh my God. And then if their market's not hot like ours, I mean, there is going to be closings and layoffs. I know in the lending world, the processors aren't needed. The underwriters aren't needed. They're going to be, looking
That's
for
already
jobs.
started with some big companies. They're already starting
Yeah,
layoffs.
layoffs. Yeah. All right, so we're going to wrap it up. I'm going to ask one important question. 3, and we probably have already talked about it. So if you want to just say, yeah, I mean, what is Lisa's 3 keys to success?
3 keys to success.
Life or real estate?
Life or, well, I think they're the same because real estate is life. I think it's hard work, education, and persistence. I don't give up. I never give up. In fact, if you tell me I can't do something, then I will probably
I'm going to bring
it.
up Sylvester Stallone's phrase. It's not how hard you hit. It's how hard you can get hit and get up.
And get up.
And keep, take that no. Okay, all right. As we were talking in our conference a couple weeks ago, is that, you're making a call, and if the agent doesn't want to meet you for coffee, don't take it personally. They're just not, it's not, they don't even know you. Maybe more unless someone already, you're like, oh God, Tracy's calling. No, we hate that guy. That's possible, but it's generally a lot of times it's not, has anything personal to do with you. It's just, they're not open to talking to someone else. Maybe they're very happy. Maybe, like my wife is an agent. I mean, another mortgage lender calls her. She's like, hey, my husband's okay. All right. That's it. And don't take it personally.
Don't take it personally. And you never know what's going on in the background for that person.
Yeah.
You might have just gotten them on a bad day.
Yeah.
So you never know. So try not.
Or maybe they're looking to get out of the business. So just having the conversation went fruitless anyway.
So I try really hard not to make assumptions. And when I do, I try to believe that people are acting with positive intent. I really do.
Right. Consistency, persistence, again, common themes that I'm hearing with different stories, and that's what we're talking about. What is one of the energy I get out the conversation, because we have similar ideologies, and you're coming from a totally different angle. I've never talked to you in length at any other time prior to the podcast yet. I got energy out of our conversation. I hope some of our listeners will, as this goes out, whether they've been watching here or out into the podcast world. All right, these are my final. I ask everyone these questions right here. Is it who you know or what you know?
It's both. It is both.
Mm-hmm.
You can't fake it. Maybe a little bit, but you really can't fake it. So if you don't know, don't say you know. Just say, I don't know, but I can find out.
Right.
So I think what you know is important. But who
you don't want people to fear getting in the industry because they don't know all the industry. Trust me, there's plenty of people that are smart that may not even go out and talk to people anymore. They're sitting in the office, some brokers, but trust me, you call them and say, hey, this is a situation, they're going to tell you exactly what to do. Mm-hmm. Your support is theirs. Get out and do it. I'm a who you know. I think, what you know, we'll follow for sure, because I think the who's will tell you what direction. They can make it easier for you. And would you agree? Too many people just don't ask.
I would. And there's nothing wrong with saying, I don't know, can you help me?
Right.
Or
calling you out of blue after watching this and say, hey, Lisa, I saw your podcast. What would you do? And you would gladly share that information.
I would.
Because one of the things I've noticed is common theme is the top real estate agents don't see each other as competition. They actually drive off each other.
We work together.
Yeah.
We really do. And there are a number of agents who are very high producers that I will call and ask them questions, ask them if they have something coming on the market. Absolutely. Because
you can't, with all the information we have out there, one person can't take it all in.
No.
And somebody read something, somebody did something over there that worked, and you want to know.
And there's enough business to go around.
Yeah.
I don't come from a scarcity mentality.
Yes.
There is abundance.
I love that.
There is enough business to go around, so we can work together.
What's on your travel bucket list?
Well, since you asked, in May, my youngest son graduates from the University of North Florida.
Congratulations.
And he is a history major, and he loves Roman history. So we're taking him to Italy for 2 weeks.
Cool.
And we're seeing all sorts of obscure Roman historical facts and artifacts, but that'll be
drink some
awesome
wine.
Trip. Yeah.
Have some good food. Yeah. Cool.
So that's 2 months away.
Excellent. All right. I'm going to finish up because I am a loan officer, and I threw this in here recently. As I imagine you have your go-to people. What is the most important thing when you're having that lending relationship, or even really any vendor? But obviously the money person and you is the biggest thing. the inspector, they come and go through the transaction, but really the money person and you are together for the whole time.
For the whole ride. And the pre-ride, too.
Right. Because some of these people that you deal with, their money isn't just the W-2.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So, making sure all that stuff is in line. What's the most important characteristic or, between in that relationship?
Answer your phone.
Absolutely. Wow, we never heard that one before, Dale. That is, communication is the thing, but what they meant is answer their phone.
Answer your phone. Yes,
I've heard that so much.
When we hit a snag, which we likely will, I'm calling you because I have a problem and I need you to help me solve it.
Right.
So I don't.
Or you might lose sleep that night. You're calling at 8 o'clock because, hey, tomorrow morning when you come in, we really need to squash this.
Yeah.
And I need to know that when maybe you go in a little early to squash it, but we need to get on it, and that's why I'm calling. Mm-hmm. And that way I can at least put my head on the pillow knowing that
we have a plan.
Yeah. Because I can't go through the night and
and that to me is for every vendor. And for every other real estate agent. I don't understand why real estate agents don't answer their phones. I mean, that's your source of business. I don't understand why people don't answer their phone. I pick up my phone every time.
There's thousands of dollars on every one of those phone calls.
Absolutely.
That's why I tell the new people, you don't understand. You may have an agent. I might have an agent watching this podcast right now that might just call me out of the blue. I don't have them programmed in my phone. I don't know who they are. But trust me, if I don't answer, it's because I'm actually on the phone with somebody else. Mm-hmm. In this stage, it's great because you could send a text message, say, hey, this is Sally Smith. I need to talk to you. So when I get off the phone, oh, Sally, okay, I call right back. Because I don't like voicemail personally. I listen to it, but I'd rather you do the text, and then I know, oh, Sally, okay, I call you back because I don't have your number in my phone. Because unfortunately, we get a lot of garbage calls.
We do. We do get a lot of garbage calls.
Yeah, so if you don't leave some sort of voice message or a text that hey, this is you who's calling, sometimes we don't call back because we assume it was just a sales call or.
But my general contractor answers his phone. My painter answers his phone because they know
money.
It's money, and that's our relationship. So
and our job for supporting a real estate agent is to take a little bit of that stress off of you, because you are the point person when talking to that client, because you referred these people. That if there's a problem on the team, we need to know about it so we can make you look good.
Right.
Yep. Lisa, I appreciate you being on the show.
Thank you. It was great to be
another great conversation, and I hope some of our listeners got something out of it. But
I hope so too.
As we build this library, so this will go out on next Tuesday in the podcast world. Obviously, it's Facebook Live, and I'll be obviously sending a copy of the video for you to put on your social media for Savannah to take care of that for you. But again, lots of nuggets. It was a great conversation. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.